Hello, my name is William J. Rothwell, and today I'd like to talk with you about leading HR transformation. Of course, I've written a book on this topic with two other authors. The book title is Human Resource Transformation, and it's available on Amazon.com or on Barnes & Noble. Basically, the idea of HR transformation is to reinvent HR in an organization. And of course, there's two ways to think about HR. First of all, there's HR in its traditional home in an HR department. And then there is the HR function. And HR, of course, is an activity. Human resources is something that every manager has to do something with. So when we're talking about HR transformation, we're talking about fundamentally rethinking and reinventing HR in our organizations. Now, traditionally, we know what HR has involved. Traditional HR functions include recruiting, selecting, orienting people, training people, facilitating the establishment of appraisal systems, managing compensation and benefits, and so forth. But when we talk about HR transformation, we're talking about taking a fresh look at HR. This is not a management fad. This is not an HR fad. This reflects the concern that many senior executives have stated in survey after survey that they are not entirely happy with the HR function as it is being managed in their organizations. What they'd like to see is a more strategic HR function, one that's able to address the major long-term challenges with people that organizations face. And instead, what they find is an HR system that is sometimes very paperwork, process-oriented. You know, I do a lot of speaking around the world, and I once polled a group of people outside the U.S., all of them HR vice presidents, and I asked them, in your departments of HR, about what percent of time is spent on processing transactions. The answer, shockingly, was 95%. So this is, if you're an HR professional, this is a question you can think about. What percent of the time of your department is spent on transactional work, processing forms, record keeping, and things like that, as opposed to consulting with management about leveraging human talent in the organization. So when we talk about HR transformation, this is really what we're talking about. There's no universal definition. This is not a trademark term that has one meaning. It's one that the organization looks at its biggest people challenges and asks the question, how could we reduce the amount of time spent on transactional work in HR, and how could we increase the strategic side of HR so that we get more advantage to the organization? Of course, when I've spoken on this topic around the world, many people are very familiar with this thinking that we need to find a way to reduce the transactional work of HR. But fewer are aware of what to do next. So one way to reduce the transactional side of the work is outsource part or all of those transactional functions. Another way to do it is to leverage technology, such as increasingly robust human resource information systems. A third way is to increase how much and what kind of HR work that operating managers and workers themselves do. All of these are ways to reduce the burden on traditional HR practitioners in terms of transactions. But then if we look at the strategic side, we ask the question, what should HR do strategically? And we have a number of choices. One, HR could be performance consulting. Another focus of HR could be on ethics. Another on talent management, and another on organization development and change management. It's up to you. The challenge is great, and it's an exciting time to be an HR professional. Thanks.